welcome everyone. I was halfway down my speech. I'm so glad that you're here today and that you can now hear us. So thank you for joining us today. I'm Tamara Rossander, licensed practitioner and ministerial student with the Center of Spiritual Living White Rock. We're an inclusive learning center of practical spirituality based in the Lower Mainland of British Columbia, Canada. We create sacred opportunities for personal empowerment, collective transformation through wholehearted experiences of universal truth and spirit. Wherever you are on your path, whether you're soaring or struggling, there's a place for you here. But as we begin today, our gathering today, I respectfully acknowledge that I live and work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish nations, including Semiahmoo, Kwantlen, Tsawwassen, Stolo, Katsi, and Wasanic nations. We thank the First Nations who continue to live on these lands and care for them, along with the waters and all that is above and all that is below. Now, I'd like to take a moment and invite you to let everything else go, silence your devices, and just be here with us now. And let's anchor our time together in prayer. As we breathe in collectively and breathe out collectively, wherever we are on this planet, in this space, in this time, knowing together that there is one truth, that universal divine wisdom that operates in, through, and as each of us. It is expressing to its highest and fullest potential right here, right now, knowing that I am one with this one universal divine spark, the creative area that goes forth each day. I know that each of you are one with that one. As beauty unfolds and the perfection of this day unfolds right here, right now, I claim the wisdom, the joy, the love for each person here. I know that we are all together learning, growing, and accepting this truth into our hearts, knowing that it is perfection, it is all good. So as today unfolds, and I know there will be a spark of wisdom that will excite you and live through the moment, I ask you to release these words with me, knowing great gratitude for the day, for the time that we are here together. And I invite you to release these words and say, and so it is with me today. So next, I'd like to take a moment and introduce our musician. So for live music today, we welcome our wonderful and talented Ron Singh. He is the richness of his vocals and the warm depth of his message, always open and is always open heart. He makes music with a distinct Indian Western flair that draws on his love for rock music and heartfelt lyrics. He refers to his unique blend of music as Indo-Canadian folk. Please join me in welcoming Ron Singh.
It's an original song called You Were Not Alone. Thank you, Tamara, for the introduction. How I wish I could turn back time just to hear your laughter one more time. Is there serenity where you're sleeping tonight? Did you hear me calling you late into the night? 'Cause I was there beside you when you cried out for me. I was there beside you when you reached out for me. I was there to guide you through the thundering sea. You are not alone. Talk to me, I still hear you. Talk to me. Hold my hand, I am near you. Stand by me. But don't you be afraid, everything will be alright. Did you hear me calling you late into the night? 'Cause I was there beside you when you cried out for me. I was there beside you when you reached out for me. I was there to guide you through the thundering sea. You are not alone. No, no. You are not alone. No, no. You are not alone. You are not alone.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Woo! Amazing. Well, following that amazing song, we also now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Reverend Champion Fleming. They serve as our Minister of Organizational Development. They're also a consultant and leadership coach working with national nonprofits and labor unions who are committed to anti-racism strategies that lead to cultural and political change. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for doing that work. Reverend Champion has also worked for decades on the LGBTQIA plus issues, AIDS awareness, poverty, and racism. They've been in service at the Center for Spiritual Living in Davis, California, and the East Bay Church of Religious Science in Oakland, California, and now here with us. So please join me in a welcome to Reverend Champion Fleming.
Thank you, Tamara, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you, Ranj. Thank you, Diane. And thank you for everybody who said yes to be in service, to be here today, or to be here today. And today we're going to talk about the miracle of our sacred yes. First, I want to acknowledge that I live and work on the unceded ancestral territory of the Chochenyo Ohlone people in Oakland, California. The Chochenyo Ohlone have stewarded the land and guided the wisdom of generations over the centuries, and they continue to do work here. There's a really great big rematriation of the land happening here, and with great winds. So that's really beautiful. And today we're talking about saying yes to the divine, saying yes to our own divinity, and how it cultivates a consciousness of possibility. And when we live from our divinity, from possibility, we allow the magnificence, all that spirit is, to flow through into the activity of our lives. And this activity happens through our consciousness. It happens through our presence. It happens through the choices we make on a day-to-day about how we're going to steward the land, be with the land, how we're going to be with each other, in our family, at work, in our organizations. The power and presence of the divine flows through us as we are conscious of it, to the extent that we are in agreement with it. And you hear this said in our philosophy, and I never want this to be some kind of an admonishment or a shame or a blame, but just a fact that as we open to the divine, as we agree to be divine and live from our divinity, miracles can happen in our life and in the world. And it doesn't take anything special from us. We don't have to be supersonic superheroes. All we need to do is be in agreement to be lived. And on the days that we wake up and we don't want to be lived by the divine, we can just be willing to be breathed. And if we're not willing, we can maybe be willing to get willing. But today, I am willing to be breathed. I am willing to live from the activity of my yes. And in her book, The Sacred Yes, Reverend Deborah Johnson, who is one of my mentors in ministerial school and a colleague of mine, she says we say yes on the front end. And when we're talking about miracles, we don't say yes to the miracle after the miracle has happened. We say yes to bring the miracle into being. We are saying yes to our oneness. We are saying yes to right now, this moment, knowing that in this moment, the divine is. We are saying yes, yes, yes. We're saying yes to everything. We're saying yes, yes, yes. We're saying yes to possibility. We're saying yes to hope. We're saying yes to a brighter future. We're saying yes to a healed body. We're saying yes to a strong body. We're saying yes to a harmonious family. We're saying yes to a workplace where we get to achieve and be successful. We're saying yes to racial and economic justice. We're saying yes from a consciousness of possibility, from a consciousness of all that God is, all that the divine is, everything that we call it: peace, power, poise, love, harmony, abundance. We're saying yes to all of it. We're saying yes to it before we see it. We're saying yes to it before we know it. We're saying yes because we know it exists. And in our yes, we're activating it, we're agreeing to it. we're accepting and agreeing our oneness with the divine. So if you say to yourself right now, yes, what is that vibration of yes? How does that feel in your body? What is the consciousness of yes? You know, we often focus on what we think is possible. We have been trained and educated and socialized to leave the impossible aside and to focus on what we know is possible. And to be successful in what we already know, well, that's good, that's fine, that's human. But to focus on what may be seen as impossible, what we don't know how it's going to come into being, that's where the miracle is. That's where the expression of our divinity is, when we say yes without knowing. So this week, I want you to get up in the morning, starting tomorrow, and before your feet hit the floor, whether you wake up on the right side of the bed or the wrong side of the bed, whether you wake up alive and energetic or tired and you don't want to get out of bed, just start saying yes to yourself. Just say yes, yes, yes. It's a simple prayer. It's the most simple prayer. We teach an affirmative style of prayer in Science of Mind. It's a 5-step prayer. But I want you to just try out this simple prayer of yes this week. And by yes, we're agreeing to be breathed. We're agreeing for all of what the divine is. We're agreeing to it for it to be possible through us. We create that space of yes when we come together in this community. We come together as individuals and we combine in this space in our oneness, in an expression of the resonance of yes. Reverend Deborah says, a miracle is when your deepest intent meets the inexhaustible supply of the divine. That's where your deepest intent meets the inexhaustible supply of the divine. To me, miracles are everyday natural and logical outcomes of our spiritual practice of affirmation and prayer and meditation. Miracles are natural every day. They're not something that happened in biblical times when we needed to part a sea or Jesus was turning water to wine. Those are examples of yes. But miracles are really, really simple. You know, when I was little, I think my mother felt it was a miracle if I cleaned my room, right? I had a miracle this week where I got together on Zoom. I think Zoom is a miracle. We had a meeting. Folks were in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Oakland, California, and Point Reyes, which is also in California. It's just north of me. And we came together as Black people, Asian Pacific Islanders, Indigenous Mexican, and white. And we had a conversation about how anti-Blackness was an obstacle to the work we were doing around racial and economic justice. We came together seeing the wholeness in each other. We told stories of who we are and who our people are. And we talked about the future that we want to see. We just said yes to that future. We don't know how to get there. A roadmap doesn't exist. But we said, yes, this is where we want to go together. And it was a miracle of belonging and possibility. We cultivated a space where everybody belonged, everybody had an equal voice. It felt very much like a circle. And a couple years ago, I was at a conference and I had the honor of meeting Adrian Clarkson. Y'all know who Adrian Clarkson is? She's a former Governor General of Canada. And she was the first immigrant Governor General, the first person to be born somewhere else. She was born in China. She was a refugee to Canada in 1942. She became a citizen of Canada in 1949 when when you stop being subjects of the British Empire and became citizens of Canada. And I saw her at a conference. The conference was called Othering and Belonging. And she was 80 at the time. This was a couple years ago. And she is a presence of possibility. She's a presence of yes. And she speaks about Canada as what, and the kind of psyche and atmosphere of Canada as a place where the circle is widening. That Canada is a country that has decided to accept at least 1% of the population of so it's 35 million, you're about 35 million people. Every year you accept 1% of that into your country, immigrants. A widening the circle and creating a place of belonging. And in her book, Belonging, the Paradox of Citizenship, she says that we are all continually and still evolving. And she uses this quote from Aristotle, which says, with respect to what is eternal, there is no difference between being possible and being. That we are possibility just by agreeing to that yes, agreeing to be breathed, possibility exists within us. And it's so simple as the breath. I mean, the breath, we are involuntarily being breathed by the breath. And yet we can focus our breath with intention, right? So it's happening without us. But we can slow it down or speed it up. We can take it deeper and longer. We can breathe shallow. We can breathe wide. We can breathe out our mouth. We can breathe out our nose. It's a place where we can set an intention. And I want to make this connection between belonging and inclusivity and how that is a nexus of miracles. Miracles can happen in that convergence of possibility and belonging and intention. A couple years ago, I was sitting in possibility, sitting in intention. I was in a coaching session, and it's funny because I was working on this curriculum called the Make Miracles Masterclass. And I had a coaching session with my coach, and in it, we were really looking at how I didn't have a sense of belonging. I didn't really feel like I belonged to myself. I didn't feel like I belonged to the divine, or that the divine belonged in me. I didn't feel like I belonged in my family. And I was having this sense of not feeling safe in the world. And my coach said to me, "What if it's possible that you are safe? What if that's just a possibility for you?" And she said, "Say it to me. Say, I am safe." And I was kind of like shy and awkward. And I said, "I'm safe. I'm safe." And I don't know if you do role plays, in your work or with your coach or therapist or with your spiritual counselor, it's a little awkward. And I was feeling shy and awkward. And she's like, "Come on, just do it." And so I said, "Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe." And then I got in my car and I drove to meet a friend of mine to go for a walk. And I was coming down the exit ramp to go to Lake Merritt in downtown Oakland, which is this urban lake. It's really pretty. It's a 3-mile walk around it. It's fabulous. And I came off the exit. I had to go through one stoplight and turn left, and I would be at my destination. But I came down the ramp, and there were a bunch of open parking spaces. And instead of going through the light and turning left to meet my friend, I just pulled over into one of the parking spots. I had no idea. Something just said, "Pull over." So I did. Moments later, seconds, I looked up. There was a car going about 90 miles an hour down the same exit ramp, which is, about a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Sorry, not kilometers. I hope you guys can do the translation. And this really fast car had to slow down. When it slowed down, it was going maybe 30, 40 miles an hour. A young man jumped out of the back window of the car. He was in the back seat. He rolled the window down. He leapt out of the window into traffic. What happens to a body when it leaps into traffic, you can imagine. And I was sitting witnessing the whole thing. I reached for my phone. In the time that I reached for my phone, there were about 12 or 15 police cars on the scene, all driving very fast. There was multiple crashes all the way down into the intersection where the light was, past the intersection where the left turn was. It was probably 30 cars, people in varying levels of injury, especially the young man who leapt out the window of the car. And I was sitting in my car completely, absolutely safe. I had said yes on the front end. I had said yes to the miracle on the front end. I didn't know what I was saying yes to. I didn't know I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. I didn't know overcoming my discomfort, not wanting to do that with my coach, not understanding why I needed to do that. And I didn't know any of it. I didn't know anything. But there I was, safe. I became surrounded in that yellow crime tape. I sat in my car for a number of hours, praying. praying for everything that I saw unfold in front of me. And when we say yes, we're willing to be in the mystery of the divine. We're willing to not know. We're willing to believe in the impossible. We're willing to take our focus off of what we think we can be successful in and open up to infinite possibility. There is so much available to us that we don't know. But if we can say yes, if we can be breathed, if we can be possible, there is no difference between being possible and being. We can live a life that is the essence and presence of possibility. Every single part of us is evolving. This is what Adrian Clarkson says in her book. Every single part of us is evolving. And we're at a time in life when it is essential that we evolve together. It is imperative that we learn to belong to ourselves, that we learn to belong to each other. The Aboriginal circles in Canada, the Ojibwe people in Ontario, they have a spiritual foundation that inclusion is expansion. That when we widen the circle, when we take each other's hands, we are activating possibility. We are activating the possibility of our evolution. And so, if you haven't read Adrian Clarkson's book, Belonging, the Paradox of Citizenship, it's so beautiful, especially right now with the discovery of the bodies of the indigenous kids. It comes out of a place of reparations, of healing and possibility, of connecting even in a place where we've harmed each other. We can still connect. We can be in agreement to belong to ourselves, to belong to each other, to belong to the divine, to belong to society. We can live in this place of possibility with a simple, simple prayer of yes. So can you say that with me right now? Yes. Yes. Thank you. I love you. And yes. So as we go within and we touch into that place where we know that the divine lives in us, we recognize and know that there is one power and presence in the universe. This power and presence is always present, always available. It is in and through all things. That all things are alive, awake, and aware with this presence. This presence has no beginning and no end. This presence is inexhaustible. It is so much bigger than we can even name or identify with our human mind, or that I can speak with these words. And so in this little moment of silence, let's feel into the infinite possibility of the divine. Feel into the expansiveness, the benevolence, the goodness that the divine is. Know that we are one with it. And we say yes to this oneness. And in this yes, we are whole. We are always whole. And we live from this wholeness. We say yes and we activate all that God is in each breath, in each step, each word, each deed. We activate and embody the divine. And that right here and right now, whatever miracle you intend to have transpire in your world, whether it is housing or a better job or more fulfillment in the current job, whether it is flexibility and strength in your body, whether it is your health restored. Right now, we enter together into a collective yes. Yes, yes, yes. The divine is activated. The divine is flowing in and through and as each one of us. We are singularly divine, and together we are a mighty, powerful spiritual community. We are touching and agreeing. So I give thanks for every miracle that manifests through this word, the subtle and the massive. I give thanks for everything as it is right here and right now. I give thanks for the power of prayer and the power of yes. And I release this word. I let go. I let God. I just let it be. And so affirm this prayer with me by saying, and so it is, yes.
And so it is. Yes. Ah, fabulous. Thank you again. Touch my heart. This is also a time now in our gathering, because as we create sacred opportunities for personal empowerment and collective transformation through wholehearted experience of truth and experience, which we just witnessed. So if you were inspired by today's music and message, as well as our weekly and monthly programs, we greatly, greatly receive your gifts, tithe, and offering. You can donate on our website at www.csl-whiterock.com/donate, or mail us a check or send us an e-transfer. And just know that gifts of all sizes are helpful. Your contributions make all of this possible. So thank you so much. So please join in declaring with me our prosperity affirmation. Divine love within blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.